Yeah, so even before the pandemic, I started my own online clinic. So I wanted to niche down away from private practice into the the demographic that I love, which is working with runners. But often, when it comes to having an injury for several months, and often like the runners I see, they've had injuries for 2, 3, 4 years. They don't need the hands-on like massage. They don't need the that physical kind of manual therapy we call it. They need the right education. They need to address the right misconceptions that they do have in their mind. They need the strengthening. They need the right programs. They need like just guidance, and all of that can be offered online. And there has been a lot of niche online clinics popping up, and I just thought I'd give it a try. It makes total sense. I can reach everyone around the world who wants to have my
Yeah.
expertise and guidance. And what we do is they sign up online. I've got my website. It's breakthroughrunning.physio. They book in a time. There's some forms that they get sent about their injury, questions about their injury, some tests that they do at home based on the injury that they do have. And then they write down if there's any pain, weakness, stiffness, that kind of thing. And yeah, then we jump on a call. We can analyze their running. People send me running videos of them running out on the street or on a treadmill, and we break down their technique. We talk about their shoes. Sometimes they send photos underneath their shoes for any wear and tear patterns, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. Then I give them the advice they need. I give them the strengthening programs. I give them the running programs, and we just follow them along through their journey. Super, super effective so far. It's been almost 12 months since I saw my first client, and yeah, the results have just been amazing. And it's given me a lot of passion every day to continue serving these runners.
Awesome, man. That's incredible. And only 12 months, you said there, you've been with your own private online consultancy?
Yeah, so my first paid client was November last year,
Nice.
but 2, 3 months of building the website, like making sure, putting people through the right processes, just make sure everything's working before
Yeah.
I see my first paid client. So yeah, all in all, it's been a little bit over 12 months.
Nice, man. Congratulations for that. So, from what you said there, and what I had looked at as well, it seems very much like your goal is more prevention than treatment at this point. You're kind of getting ahead of the train, essentially. You're making sure they're training correctly, and they've got the correct plans in place to sort of prevent these long-term injuries affecting them.
Yeah, and that's why we tend to steer away from manual therapy, because
Mhm.
massage and things will make people feel better, but it's definitely in the short term. They're
Yeah.
definitely like symptoms are going to return 2 days later, 3 days later, and it's the combination of like long-term strategies, which are the strengthening, the right education, like making sure they've identified the mistakes they've made in the past and making sure that doesn't happen in the future. So just learning along the process
Mhm.
will help not only long-term outcomes, so overcome their injury for the long term, but help them prevent this particular type of injury moving forward.
Mhm.
But there's obviously making smarter decisions, which is what my podcast is all about. Just making sure you have the right education and you are making the smarter training decisions to
Mhm.
reduce your risk of injury. That's my whole philosophy, and that's the overall goal. But we can't get that risk down to zero. Injuries are too multifactorial to
Yeah.
say, you're never going to get injured. Injuries happen. It's a way of life. And even though that's the goal,
Mhm.
if injuries do arise, it's knowing the right things to do from day one in order to overcome it very quickly and make sure it doesn't come back.
Of course. So obviously from a completely, business point of view, did you find there was any barriers for entry when you wanted to obviously start this consultancy? Or was it like most online jobs, a case of learn the basics of the online part and then just set up and go?
Yeah. Oh, the big barrier was when I tell people I do online physio, they always say, "How does that work? Well,
Yeah.
I need massage, I need dry needling. How can
Yeah.
you massage me from across the world?" And that's where the education side of it comes in. And business wise, a lot of my clients are just from my podcast. They just listen to my podcast, and it just naturally goes into asking me more questions and then seeing if they're appropriate for online physio. And by that stage, when they've listened to my podcast, they know that they don't need manual therapy. They know that they need the right education. They
Yeah.
need the strengthening. So that barrier tends to come down a little bit. But yeah, if I just see someone on the street and I say I do online physio, that's a massive barrier. It's like, what are you talking about, online physio? How the hell does that work? And
Yeah.
that's where I have to dive into it. So yeah, a big barrier. But with this pandemic, like digital like consults and telehealth are now like words that people like, it's now in the
It's
consciousness
the
of the
norm.
public.
Yeah,
Yeah. And so
100%.
that's helped me a little bit as well.
Actually, that's really interesting, and I did want to touch on this as well while we're still talking about your business. So, obviously, I'm a marketer from the marketing point of view, and I know there's a shit load of marketers that watch this. Uh, from a marketing point of view, obviously, a big part for you then is going to be trying to sort of pre-educate these people, because obviously they have that stigma of questioning why it is a digital consultancy. So I assume for you, a lot of your work is trying to just, put content out, try to let people know what it is and actually how they can benefit, and sort of educate people. Firstly, educate them on the benefits of your service and of the consultancy before you can even get them in to educate them on the benefits of proper training and actual having plans in place. So is that it? Just basically you need to try and educate people in the first place?
Yeah, and I've kind of stopped trying to convince runners that they need online physio, and I've just gone on the back of, let me just build this podcast, let me just educate them so that they can educate themselves. That's the overall idea, to bring clarity and control to every runner, and they help educate themselves. They help make the same smart training decisions. But then if they need the additional help, that's when they come to me. So it's
Right.
kind of just like reverse engineering. Instead of me going out and seeking injured runners that need online physio, it's helping the general like collective, or helping every runner. And then they say, hey, Brodie knows his stuff. This guy's really, really good. So that when they become injured, they make all those lessons that they've learned. Then if that's still not enough, or they just require a bit more guidance, a bit more of a tailored approach, I'm going to be the first one on their mind, because I've been the one that's taught them all that stuff. And so that's my overall goal. If someone is injured and they need the help, they need this one-on-one help, I want to be the first one on their mind to be like, Brodie's taught me all this stuff so far through the podcast, through the blogs, that sort of thing. Let me just reach out to him on social media. Let me just see what he thinks on my particular situation. And that's what generates the leads, and that's what draws the business in.
Obviously, I know it is, but do you view that like as a funnel then? Like, is that part of your actual strategy to bring people? You have that built as your funnel?
Yeah. And it's been a huge shift of mine the last month or so, or probably 2 months, that I need to spend the most amount of time building the podcast. That's like where all my leads get generated. And that's where I need to spend most of the time. Because if I've got, 1,000 people listening to every episode, if that turns into 10,000, that's just a bigger base and more people getting injured, helping more people in the long run, and more people asking me for questions. And that's just how the business sort of grows and generates. So I'm really happy to take that approach. I'm really happy to work that funnel down, and and then it's just helping more people in the long run.
Nice. So is there any steps that is that your only step, just the podcast, and then obviously they flow through and come into your blogs and then that, or is there any other way you're trying to do? Are you using paid marketing for the podcast or for the business?
I am just dipping my toe into paid marketing at the moment, and just seeing what works. I don't know exactly what works at the moment. Facebook ads, I'm actually hiring a coach to teach me on Facebook ads like in the next month or so, just to see if that works as well. But it's all going to be around growing the podcast rather than generating the online business. But I do offer as well some online courses for runners, which has been quite successful now as well. So if they don't want that tailored approach, if they just want to continue learning themselves, I do have videos and all this sort of stuff to help them if they just want to learn more. So there's other income streams that I have going on as well.